Harith, really appreciate you taking time out of your morning to join me here for this interview. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good as well. It's not as early for me as it is for you. I know it's 9 a.m. for you. So
Yeah.
again, really appreciate you, waking up early to do this. The reason I invited you on is because I saw some nice wins from you in the copywriting campus. Could you explain what they were about?
Yeah. So the first couple wins were just a client that I had that was my first wins inside the real world. And the other one, the second one, crazily enough, was a client who just walked up to me, and that was basically it. More of something around that.
Okay. And now, could you say the figures you made and in what time span?
Okay, so over the past 15 days, I'm on track right now to make around 3K in 30 days, but over the past 15 days, I've made 1K just from one client and around 600 USDs, I'd say, from just another one.
Very nice. Now, did
Yep.
you have any prior experience with copywriting before you joined the real world?
No, not at all. So I'm just another college kid, currently my junior year, and I was doing engineering. So copywriting was something completely different. Never done it before. But yeah, I just joined the real world and everything kind of fell into place.
How did that feel as an engineer that's more analytical, everything? How did that feel going into copywriting, which is like on the other side of, uh, how would I say, like instead of using the analytical part of your brain, you're using the creative side. So, yeah, how was that transition there for you?
Yeah, so I am more of a kind of a flexible person, so it wasn't really that big of a problem, but the resources inside the real world helped me a lot, from the people to the professor to everything that's offered inside. So it's kind of like a smooth transition. It was more easier doing it than kind of doing school, just from all the support that I had and everything that I had.
Love to hear that. How different
Yeah.
would you say the material has been from what you've seen in the real world compared to what's out there on the internet?
Um, the things that I like about the real world personally that have helped, from the professors, Andrew, who's the copywriting professor, he's always updating us. We always have something new. It's not like, I kind of like using the school ideology because that's where I come from. And school is kind of like you have this one thing set down. But Andrew, he's always updating us with new market insight, things that are happening and everything that's happening. And on top of that, we also have it's kind of like a community. It's basically a community where everyone in there is just trying to help each other. So let's say I need help with this certain thing, then someone would help me. I need this certain thing, someone will help me. It's just absolutely, I can't even really describe it into words, honestly,
Right.
even if I
Okay.
wanted.
I love that. So I'd like to go back a bit to how did you find out about the real world?
So that was actually through a Tate YouTube video. Once I remember, I don't really remember what exactly I was doing, but I remember I just came back from school that I was watching a Tate YouTube video for like his podcast for like an hour and a half. Then from there on in, for like the next 3 days, I just started binge watching his podcast, like 8 hours, just watching Tate back and forth, back and back and back and forth. Like everyone around me was like, "Why are you watching Tate so much?" But most of the things that he was saying were like clicking onto me, and they made sense to me. And then from there on in, it was just like it made the most sense.
Right. So has your how much has your day changed since you've joined the real world? What were you doing before, like in terms of average day, and how does it look like now?
Before I just used to wake up whatever time, kind of go to school. I was still getting good grades and everything, but right now I feel like I don't really like using the word motivation, so my inner discipline is way better right now. I started going to the gym. I started keeping track of like the people I socialize with, my networking. It's more like I have an inner drive. Before I was just going to school, using the entire day carelessly. Now I even understand how to manage my time better, do things better. It's just all around helped me so much.
And a bit more in depth on what would you attribute that mindset shift to?
That would be the professor and the people inside the real world. It's just everyone has a goal. We're all trying to be free, all trying to get to a certain goal. So it's good masculine competition, if I'd put it in that frame, where we're all competing, we're all helping each other. It's like a brotherhood, but everyone's just competing. So whenever I sit, I'd be like, wow, I don't want to work right now. Then I just go into the real world, go into the wins page, or even the DM section, then someone sends me a win. They got in 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 retainers. I'm like, wow, yeah, I don't really have a choice right now. I just gotta put in the work. So it builds the motivation automatically from there on in.
Right. I'm wondering when you first heard about maybe it was Hustlers University at the time or the real world,
Mhm.
did you think it might be a scam?
Um, I kind of that was the whole transition was really fast. So it was like in the span of what, 4 days from the time I first watched Tate to the time I joined Hustlers University. That was towards the end of Hustlers University, actually. So I kind of thought about it, but then I was like, you know what? It's just $50 a month. What do I have to lose? And even if
Right.
I don't want to do it, then I can just opt out after that. But after joining, I don't regret my decision. It was probably, yeah, it was the best decision that I've made in my life.
Yeah,
150%.
love that. That's always great to hear.
Yeah.
And how much time were you putting in into the real world when you first joined, and has that changed since?
So at the beginning, that was like when I just joined. I remember for the first week, that was during my finals week back at school. So I put in like a good 7 hours. I was grinding, like doing college during the day, then staying up at night for like a good week. Then that's when I like, because back then, I think it's still getting updated right now, but back then during HU, that was when we had the 14 boot camp, basically like the beginner sprints. So I basically did all of that in a week. Then after there, I was slacking for like a couple of weeks. Then actually a funny story. So like during that period of time, it was actually an emergency meeting that I went on an emergency meeting. Then it was Tristan and Andrew talking about something. Then I remember asking, that was the last emergency meeting that they had. I remember asking Tristan about how do we contact him? Then he was like, you don't because you're poor. And that just made me so mad inside. That just made me so mad inside. I was like, yeah. And now, then he was like, you won't make it. Then I was like, yeah, now I have to do it. I want to prove him wrong. So then from there on in and to now, I kind of put in, I kind of put in like, let's say 12, 13-hour days, just putting in the work, getting everything done, which every day is just worth it to me because as soon as everything hits my bank account, it's like, wow. Like you don't really think of the pain you go through when you start getting the reward. And once
Mhm.
it starts coming in, it's like just flowing like water.
Yeah, it becomes exponential.
Yep, exactly.
So I'd like to hear a bit more in terms of what would you have to say for what effect the Tates have had on you, whether it's Andrew or Tristan?
Um, wow. A lot. I can't even really put it into words to really say, but I started going to the gym. I started thinking for myself. I started understanding how people around you can influence you, how things around you always want to influence you. They've changed my life so much. Right now, I think a month now ago, I was able to quit my job, which I was just working and I didn't really like the job. I was just working average 9 to 5, more or less, the time that I didn't actually go to school. And I was able to quit that. And now I work from the comfort of my home. And they've had a massive, to say the least, a massive change and effect on my life.
Right. And that's, again, a common theme I heard during these interviews. And I can say so for myself as well. Definitely a big change. Very happy with the person I am now compared to even 6 months ago.
100%.
Okay, so now going back into the real world,
Mhm.
did the Wins channel have any kind of impact on you?
So the Wins channel is kind of like my I don't like using the word motivation, but just to make it simple, let's say motivation. So I still do that up to this day whenever, because I know like they're just there's everyone's always making money. Everyone's always like the Wins channel is constantly getting updated hours, not like days, not like in weeks, it's hours. Everyone's making money. So like sometimes I just come back from school, sometimes I wake up in the morning at like 5 a.m. before like I have like 3 hours before school. Then I'm like, I don't really want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to. Then I go into the wins channel. I literally just sit here and just go through the wins channel. 1, 2, 3 wins. Then there's always someone who's made 7K, 5K, 10K. Like, then I'm like, yeah, I don't really have a choice now. This is exactly what I'm competing against. And it's like, it's competition that's not really it's good masculine competition where we're all wishing the best for ourselves for everyone around because we're all helping each other, but it's also good motivation for everyone moving forward, if that kind of makes sense.
Right, for sure. And that's what I'd say missing in today's society. I mean, unless you're maybe doing competitive sport or maybe going
Yeah.
military, you just don't have access to that kind of brotherhood
Yep.
anywhere else, really.
100%.
Right.
That's something I didn't really have the connection that the people that I know and the connections that I have right now, I feel so much better than where I was 6 months ago, a year ago, from the people that I know right now, the connections that I have, even people I haven't really met in real life yet, but it feels like kind of like people that were meant to be in my life, if I put it in that way.
Right. And for sure, I've had similar experiences as well.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm wondering, what would you say was the biggest challenge you faced when you first started out with copywriting?
Ooh, it was most people quit after they don't get their first couple wins. Their people just come in, then they get a couple wins in the beginning, then they have a good motivation. But it was telling myself and reinforcing to myself that I could not quit because that was at the beginning. Then every time I thought about, I didn't even think about it, but the idea of quitting came up to my head. I'd go back to a YouTube video of Tate, then it would just like reiterate it to me that no, I can't do it. And nowadays it's not even a thing that comes up. But at the beginning, it was more like being patient, knowing that I still need to do more because there are people in there putting in longer hours than me. That's why they're able to get clients. So it was just reinforcing that I can't just quit because if I quit, I'll just be a quitter for the rest of my life.
Right. And on the other end, what would you say have been the three biggest lessons you've learned from your time in the real world?
Um, Quitting is never an option. No quitter has ever made it. Hard work beats talent any day. As cliche as it sounds, hard work beats talent every day because I've seen people who are so talented, but they only work a couple of days. And I've seen people who work every single day, wake up, get into the real world, do the work, and they manage to bag clients. And number three, masculine brotherhood is extremely important in men's life, mental health, and everything, and success and everything.
Great
Those are
answers.
three things that I personally
Mhm.
learned that I didn't know before.
Great. And now that you're on this trajectory, where do you see your life heading in 6 months to 1 year?
Um, I'm currently planning right now. If everything goes well, there's a couple of things that I'm planning on doing, opening up a business. If everything goes well in the next 6 months to 1 year, I'm also planning to kind of maybe I'll look into more into it, but I don't think if I'd really want to finish the school system. But I've reached so far and I just feel like I don't want to do it and just kind of what I was saying before, just quitting right in the middle. But that's where I really want to be, open my own business, be fully independent, and that's basically around there.
Right. So we'll see in a few months.
Yeah.
If things have scaled for you, we'll do a follow up. See how you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, that is all my questions for you, Harith. So for people who want to find out more about you or contact you, where can they do so?
They can check out my website at harithrakim.com, or they can also check out my Twitter. It should be also Harith Rakim or Social Seducer. One of the two. I think it's the second one. It's probably the second one. Yeah, it's the second one. I am 110% sure it's Social Seducer. That's the second one. Yep.
Okay, so I'll add it to the description of the video. Could you just spell out the website?
My website is HARITHRAKIM.com.
Great.
It's no
So
space, no hyphens, no nothing in between.
again, thank you, Harith. Really
Of,
appreciate your time.
of
And as I
course,
said, I want to see how things go for you and get you on for a follow-up in future.
of course. Thank you so much for your time as well, and I really do appreciate the opportunity.